So, Mortal Kombat 2.
Did you mean Mortal Kombat?
That's exactly what I meant. And that's what I was hearing last night as I was walking out of the cinema. That music was thumping. But yes, the new Mortal Kombat is out. It got like a bit of a pushback release. I think it was supposed to come out a little while ago, wasn't it? Or it was
Last October. Yeah.
last October, yeah. And they decided to push it closer to like bigger movies of the year, where it's probably got more competition. I don't know. But yes, went to the cinema to see this last night. You watched it the other day as well at the cinema, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
This is a franchise that I have a lot of love for. I'm not a massive like fighting game person. I don't love those kind of games, but I've always loved Mortal Kombat, and like no matter whether I've bought the game or not, I've always gone to watch the campaign cutscenes all cut together as a big movie on YouTube, basically, because I love the lore, I love the characters. It's really rich in that sense and fun. The older movies we've got some nostalgia for. We mentioned them in our so we did a deep dive into video game adaptations, and shockingly still it's one of the best ones, the 1995 Mortal Kombat. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm not sure whether that changes now.
I think, well, that 90s camp and charm is unbeatable. I think nostalgia, that's gonna put it above everything else. I think this is a competently made movie for the most part. It is kind of terrible, and I still kind of love it anyway. Yeah, let's get into it. First of all, like, since you have such a storied kind of like relationship with the franchise, which I do not have. Like, I have played on occasion Mortal Kombat, but I'm also not really like a fighting game kind of guy. The one fighting game that I had and I played a lot of was Street Fighter, so I was more on that. Like, I'm more waiting for the other video game
Yeah.
fighting movie that is coming out this year.
Which is interesting because they both had their initial trailers that came out a while back, and Street Fighter looked really trashy, and Mortal Kombat looked like quite good. Or it still looked trashy, but like looked like it was going to be quite an enjoyable, like, fun time.
Yeah.
And then like that new Street Fighter trailer came out like a month ago or whatever, and it's like, oh my
Looks
god,
great.
this looks amazing. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It's I think from, like you said, from a general thoughts, it's entertaining. I did have a fun time at the cinema. So I mentioned to you, I took some voice notes as I came out of the cinema just to remind me of some things, because it's quite forgetful as a movie goes.
Yeah. Before we go into the second movie and all your thoughts on it, I wanted to ask you like your general thoughts on the first one, which, by the way, that movie came out in 2021. That's 5 years ago. And like I was so confused in the cinema because I was like, that can't be right. Like, that cannot, I have not seen this movie, the first movie, 5 years ago. No wonder I barely remember it. And that's kind of like the first problem that I have with this movie, that it's kind of like a direct sequel of that one. So you need to kind of like have it fresh in your mind to understand everything that's going on.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because at a point I kind of forgot that it was a direct sequel until you see the old characters in this one. You're like, oh my god, it's those guys again. Fuck. And yeah, I suppose the first one is bad.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy the first one. It's like trying to give you fan servicey things, but then also take so much away. The biggest criticism from the first film is Louis Tan's main character, who I couldn't tell you what his name is. Cole Young. That's it. Cole Young. Wow. He's so bad in it. The performance is bad. The dialogue is so bad. The actress that plays Sonya's really bad in the first film.
Yeah.
But we get some good moments. We get some fun fatalities and some good fight scenes I think in the first film.
It starts off well.
It starts off great. Well,
Yeah.
it starts off like every single Mortal Kombat thing ever, with a battle between Scorpion and Sub-Zero, which works, hey, and it works. If you're going to start a new trilogy or whatever, then you start with that for sure.
Yeah, it's done well.
But it dropped off a cliff once the plot starts kicking in that first film.
What plot?
Well, yeah,
There's
exactly.
no plot.
And they do things like they have Cole Young kills Goro. You're like, what the fuck are you thinking of doing? Like, everybody loves Goro who loves Mortal Kombat. You cannot have this new character that sucked and that never won a fight, and then in their final fight in the first movie, he kills Goro.
Yeah.
There's so much bad stuff about that first one.
We've talked about that movie briefly recently, our most anticipated list of movies for 2026. I mentioned Mortal Kombat, so we spoke briefly about the first one. And you said something that I found quite funny. You said that to redeem itself, the second movie would have to brutally murder Cole Young in the opening scene of the film.
And it failed.
They failed to do it in the opening scene, but they do brutally murder him and never speak about him again in the film. So did that work to win you back a little bit?
No, because it didn't happen soon enough. And like when we jump into more of the details on the second film, I'll
Yeah.
explain why. But it was a satisfying kill. It needed to be done. I think everybody could see that it was coming as well, especially once Louis Tan's character takes such a backseat in the second movie. You're like, well, okay, he's cannon fodder. This guy's getting killed straight away.
They introduce him like alongside other two characters. Like, oh, he's the main guy from the first movie, and he's just like, oh, that guy is Cole Young. He's a great warrior.
Some of the expository dialogue is hilarious. He's like, oh, he got taken by Kano, the mercenary with a loud mouth. It's like, yes, we all know Kano.
He was fun in the first one though, Kano.
He fucking carried that first movie, and that should not be how it goes. And yeah, so your general thoughts, you didn't like the first one either.
I thought it was, as I said, it starts off well because that opening fight scene is really cool. The effect with the ice was really well done. And then, like as you mentioned, as soon as the plot kicks in, it just becomes this very uninteresting and like CGI heavy. I don't know. It wasn't focused. Like it just didn't work, and like the acting was very lacking.
Besides, we mentioned like Scorpion, Sub-Zero were decent. Kano was a standout, and I quite like Liu Kang and Kung Lao. I thought they're good. They're cast well. I'm pretty sure they are stuntmen, I think, or they're at least martial artists, because it's so obvious. Like their fight scenes are so much better than everybody else's because they're actually doing the shit. So yeah, they did well. Like, and the guy that plays Shang Tsung, he's also in like Dark Knight. He's not very good.
Yeah.
The guy that plays Raiden he's been in a few other things, and again, not very good. And it's not either of their fault because they're good actors. They have nothing to work with.
Yeah, the Raiden character just feels like B-tier fucking Xavier from the X-Men, just like gathering characters and being all wisdomy, and oh my god, like you have this huge potential to unlock. And
whereas Raiden, like, have you ever watched like or played the campaigns of any of the games before?
A little bit, yeah, like with friends. I've never owned a Mortal Kombat game, I think, but I've seen cinematics, and I've seen I know like how cool he is.
Yeah, there are some great like stories they do in the games, and I'm sure they are convoluted and probably don't make a whole lot of sense here and there, but it's like Raiden is such an epic character in the game, so cool, such a cool design, and they just don't capture the essence of his character in the first film or the second film at all, and it's really disappointing because he is one of the better characters in the lore of the universe.
There's no Christopher Lambert, I'll tell you that.
But exactly, how is that still the standard for Raiden? It's fucking crazy. It's crazy. But yeah, so went into this one, I'm sure you were the same. I think because the promotional material was very centered around Johnny Cage. We were thinking, okay, they've taken the criticism from the first film. It's the same director and writer, right, for this second one?
Yeah. It's the same director. I'm sure it's the same creative team as well.
Which I cannot believe that. Why because the first one wasn't super well received, like even with fans. I think that people were just happy that there was a decent Mortal Kombat property there for them to go and see. It seems like they took some of those criticisms on board for the second film. We're like, okay, let's do more fights. The story will be focused around the tournament, and we'll have a recognizable character in Johnny Cage as the main character. But when the film started, I was like, hold on. This seems very much like it's a Katana story, and I think they kind of, it's not bait and switch necessarily, but the trailers and promotional do make it out to be Johnny Cage being the central main protagonist of the story, and that's not really how it is. It's a split.
No, it's Katana.
It's split, and if anything, it's more Katana's story than his, for sure.
It is more Katana also because she's more central to the actual conflict of the film.
She has a personal relationship with Shao Kahn, and I like the setup of the lore at the beginning with her dad being, taking over of Outworld and all that stuff. But it's you should have picked your lane.
Yeah.
I feel like they should have either done a very Johnny Cage focused story, and then you deal with the lore building through characters like Raiden and Shang Tsung and Shao Kahn, rather than the dynamic between Katana and Shao Kahn. I just don't think splitting them worked very well.
No, also because you don't have enough time to dedicate to the both of them.
Yeah.
So they both come out to be a little bit one note. Like Johnny Cage, you have that introduction sequence where he's like, at some Comic-Con event and he's like reliving the glory days. And there's that little, like, really fun little sequence from an old movie that he did.
Maybe it was supposed to look bad, and maybe that's the point, but I
Yeah, no,
thought
of
that
course.
action sequence was fucking dreadful.
It was dreadful, but like it was meant to be because it's kind of like a Jean-Claude Van Damme, like Steven Seagal, kind
Yeah.
of like a B movie.
I do get it, but it also it stung even more because the fight before that was pretty basic as well and not very good. Like the fight between Jared and Shao Kahn.
Yeah.
Like it was just like they open the film with two like little origin stories and a fight scene, and both of the fight scenes were really just like so lackluster in this opening.
And then like I was so, confused is not the right word, but just like dumbfounded by the way they progress like the story, because you have, as you mentioned, there's this flashback with Katana and we kind of like establish her motive and like what the word is and what's gonna happen. Then we have a little scene with Raiden and the blonde lady, Sonya, and they kind of like establish that tournament is coming and they need to find warriors and whatnot. And then you have the introduction of Johnny Cage, and then the next scene is Johnny Cage is like packing up his stuff in his car, and Raiden and Sonya show up and they're like, okay, you need to come with us because you're gonna be selected to be a warrior in this Mortal Kombat tournament. And I'm like, we're missing something here. Like there needs to be a scene when like Raiden is like, okay, I'm gonna interrogate the gods and I'm gonna see, who's gonna ally themselves with us, and maybe, oh my god, is this guy, but this guy is just an actor, like they have to establish him before they just show up and be like, okay, come with us.
Yeah, because they establish in the first film that you have a marking, right? And if you kill
Yeah.
somebody, you get the marking, and that gets you entry to the tournament. But they never show whether Cage has a marking. They never show how he got it or why he's been selected. It's just they just
It's
were like, oh,
strange.
whatever. We need to get him into the fucking story.
I mean, I would be okay with the movie being 10 minutes longer and you explain that, like, because the character feels truncated this way. Like, I was so looking forward to Carl Urban as Johnny Cage because the trailers did a really good job selling him as that character. But at the end of the day, the character is charismatic because Carl Urban is charismatic, but like
that's all he brings.
on paper is just not doing anything for me. The stuff that he says is very basic and boring. Like it's not like he makes some of the lines work because he's a good actor, but like I don't know, I was disappointed with the writing.
Yeah, I felt the same way, and this is why I was kind of thinking, especially when I came out the cinema, I was like, oh yeah, you know what? If you take away so a lot of the Katana, Jade, Shao Kahn element of this film, and you have scenes with Raiden conversing with the Elder Gods, and that sort of establishes more of the lore of Outworld and things like that, which is what the Katana, Shao Kahn stuff was trying to do too. And then it gives us more time to give Johnny Cage some more stuff to do. Like I can't believe they didn't write in the kind of romantic subplot he typically has with Sonya Blade. Like they typically have like a will they won't they kind of thing between them two. But in this, it's like they have no chemistry whatsoever, no relationship. And that could have been something that got him to join the tournament. Like he sees her almost get killed or something, and that awakens him because he kind of fancies her. I don't know. There's so many ways you could have incorporated that better.
That's such a simple thing, like such an obvious thing to do, and it would have been so much better than what we have.
I know. They decided to do him rejecting the call, which was good. Like him saying no to Raiden and him going back through the portal. But then they just teleport him back into the fight anyway. So it's like, what was the point?
It was obvious, like, they have to do the refusal of the call from the main character every time, and every time it feels so forced.
But typically the refusal of the call, it forces the protagonist to change something, and they then decide, okay, this is my call to action. They decide. Whereas he is just, without his own will, is pulled back into the Mortal Kombat world.
He's just drinking himself to sleep. He's looking at himself in the mirror, and then he disappears. And he doesn't really have a change of heart of anything. It's everything is just such matter of facts. Like, okay, this is what's happening. There's no flair. There's no inventiveness in the way these situations are portrayed and like these characters are brought together. And that's a problem with the director. And I was looking him up because I didn't know him. Like Simon McQuoid is his name.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. And I found out right now that Mortal Kombat 2021 was his directorial debut.
Yes, I remember this.
And Mortal Kombat 2 is his second movie. Like, he hasn't done anything else except for a few short films. I'm like, good for you, but clearly, like there's something missing in these projects, and it's like a good script and a good idea and a good way to utilize these characters in more than just like, okay, let's put them in a room and make them fight, which, works in a video game. But when you're making a movie, I want some juicy drama. And they try really hard with like, the Katana and Jade. They're trying to create this scenario where like one is loyal to the main bad guy and one wants to defy him, but then that it doesn't really do anything. And like Kano as well, like they introduce him back because of course he was loved in the first one, so of course they're gonna bring him back, and it looks like he's gonna be with the bad guys, but then in the next scene he's like, oh, of course I'm not gonna be with the bad guys, I want to drink beer and have sex with chicks and whatnot.
This really annoyed me, man. But and it's a tough one because like he is good, and even in the second film when they bring him back, he gives me some good laughs as well. Like he has
Of
some very
course,
funny,
it's good.
I mean, just off the bat, I love the fact that this introduced Quan Chi, because Quan Chi is one of my favorite Mortal Kombat characters. He's so good, and he's always him. The dynamic between him, Shang Tsung, and Shao Kahn, how they're always trying to fuck each other over for control of Outworld, and they're always sliming each other. Like they don't really replicate that in this, but like that dynamic I love in the games. Like the dynamic between Kano and Quan Chi was quite funny, of him just like talking about how he's like Voldemort's nutsack, and just the image of them two standing next to each other is hilarious.
Where are you going? Just putting some eyeliner on.
Yeah, he's like, you don't need it.
And that's where I'm like, is this an improv from the actor?
Probably.
Because none of the writing is that sharp anywhere else in the film.
Yeah, I think that a lot of that is definitely that guy. But the fact that Quan Chi does this, he brings a lot of characters back from the dead in the games, but he brings Kano back. And first of all, he's not changed at all. He's not decomposed or anything. He just looks normal, which I was weird and I just didn't get, and it's silly. But then he also,
and he's supposed to have like a cyber guy.
Yeah, he has a cyber eye. They'll wait until the third film to introduce his cybernetic eye, I'm sure. But
fuck me.
It's he has the amulet. The reason they bring him back from the dead is because they want this amulet off of him, and he just has it in his pocket. And it's like, oh, it was in my pocket all along. And they're like, and Jade literally says, oh, so we didn't even need to bring this guy back from the dead. And it's like, yeah, we know the script is dumb. You don't need to tell us. And then for the rest of like the next 10-15 minutes of the movie, Kano's just like wandering around the villain's like lair, like making jokes. And it's like, why the fuck is this guy alive? Like, why are they letting this guy just walk around? And at one point, he has his own set of guards, and he's like, goes to take on Johnny Cage, and that's when he betrays them. And it's like, but why are you in this situation? It makes no sense whatsoever. And yeah, the lore in the games, they do a lot of convoluted shit to bring characters back from the dead. So, he's like Kung Lao, that shit happens, but he comes back as a revenant, and that made more sense for him to do that. But they just wanted to bring Kano back for the laughs, and because he was the best bit about the first movie. And there are other characters in the Mortal Kombat universe that have comedic value to them. Not just Johnny Cage either. You could have brought back a character, which I really have. It's a shame they didn't do. It's a character called Bo Rai Cho, who's like this big fat like drunk monk, and like his move set in the game is like he'll drink loads of beer and like puke, and then your character, like the enemy, slips over his puke, but he has like this really interesting move set, and he's like quite a funny character, and they've done him justice in some of the stories in the games, so they didn't have to solely rely on Kano here. But of course they do, because this film relies on every little crutch possible.
Yeah, but like it's kind of disappointing because they had something with that character, and they had something with Johnny Cage, and the casting of Carl Urban was really inspired.
He was a bit too old for me personally.
Okay,
like maybe Carl Urban 10 years ago would have been perfect for the role. I know,
but
I'm just talking, and it worked for the story because he plays an aging stuntman.
Exactly.
But in the fight scenes, he looked like an old man. There's a couple fights, and he's moving his leg up, and you're like, yeah, you can't move your leg, your knee above your waist, because you're fucking 55 or some shit, man. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good.
And it's like, it's just this movie is so much like the first one. Like it has the same kind of problems, even though they address some of the issues that people had with the first one. It's still
See, I would say this is a lot better than the
no,
first
it
one.
is. It is for sure. There's a marked improvement on the previous protagonist, but then again, Johnny Cage is pretty much exactly who you expect him to be, and he goes on exactly the arc you expect him to go on. Oh, I don't want anything to do with this fight, and then at the end,
And it's so rushed because
Yeah.
his arc is he's getting beaten up, and Sonya Blade is like, "You're an actor," and that's his switch. It was so rushed.
That said, I did like the Johnny Cage versus Baraka fight. I thought
Amazing. It was great. And then also, so the best, maybe is it the best fight? Probably the best fight in the film is Liu Kang versus Kung Lao. For me, I thought that was the best fight.
Okay, so those are the best two because Kung Lao versus Liu Kang is the most well choreographed and just
Yeah,
more
100%.
inventive with the way they use the flames and the spinning hat.
They're doing straight up move sets from the game as well. Like there's a couple moves that Kung Lao does, and it's like I know, like he was one of the characters that I used to play with a lot. And he has this move where he throws his hat down into the ground and it spins across the floor like some sort of like buzzsaw thing. It's so good. They do a lot of those references, so they do understand sometimes when to pull those things in and when to pull them out. And I think they got those moments better in this film than they did the first. They're much more fleeting in the first.
Yeah.
There's still many problems with this one, but I think they do the fan servicey stuff a bit better in the second one.
That's for sure. And Liu Kang versus Kung Lao was fun, and Johnny Cage v Baraka was fun.
The dynamic they have as well was hilarious.
Yeah.
That was probably like my favorite beat in the story.
He
when
loves him.
Baraka is like, "You are the greatest warrior there's ever been. It's like, teach me your ways." And Johnny Cage is like, "I shall be your sensei."
Yeah.
Like, that was hilarious.
And then at the end, he is there like teaching him and his kids. Like it's
when he sees the probably the biggest laugh, or like maybe the only like laugh out loud bit it got me, was when Johnny Cage runs into that little hut and he looks at the little Baraka kids
He's like,
and he's like, "Ooh."
Yeah.
He's like, "Ooh, they're disgusting." It was so good.
But yeah, that whole sequence was fun. It's the only fights that they do in broad daylight, and there's like a proper set that looks nice and real and not fucking fake CGI all over the place. So it was the most readable fight as well. Like it was just my favorite. But also Liu Kang and Kung Lao was cool. And everything else was okay. It was entertaining. Unfortunately, there was not a lot of people in my theater. What about you?
As I said to you before we started recording, because it didn't properly release until today, like have a full wide release. So I had to go to like a IMAX special screening that was like £20 last night to go see it. I saw it at a cinema that I haven't been to either. I went to like Odeon Greenwich, which is like a massive cinema, and it was such a weird experience because it was so like there was a TGI Fridays next to the cinema that was desolate, abandoned, everything was like trashed there, and then inside the cinema there was like two people working. I didn't even have to show my ticket. I could have just walked in, and like there was barely anybody working there.
The same happened to me. It's insane. Like we had the same experience.
this place, there was just this massive empty like dilapidated warehouse that this cinema was in, and I was like, yes, this is the cinema experience of today. It's just, unless you go into a real nice cinema, god, they are real like desolate places now. But I mean there was quite a few people. There was maybe like 20-30 people, mostly dudes on their own. So
that's the main demographic.
not surprising, but overall I had an entertaining experience. There's just like I said, I recorded a voice note, and I think the first thing I said in my voice note is, I don't know what I expect from a live action Mortal Kombat movie, because I think I have too high expectations for what these can be.
It is a weird
and
one.
What they ever will be with the people that get involved, because I want them to have the fun, zany side of it, but I also want them to take it serious because the fate of the world is at stake. So there are genuine stakes that should be explored, but they just don't get the balance right. And I don't know how much the the guy that writes it like loves the franchise or whatever, but I don't think he gets it, to be fair. Like there's so many other characters you could get in this film, and there's like scenes when they're doing the fights, and you could have maybe some recognizable faces in the crowd, you know, because other fighters from around the realms want to come see the Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
It should be a big thing, and you should have other realms that choose their champions to fight, so we're not just dealing with it's like to the two sides of the coin, and you could bring in a lot of these other cool characters they have. Yeah, there was a point which was a really dumb plot line they did. You know when Kung Lao gets brought back from the dead and he slits Raiden's throat.
Yeah.
And Shang Tsung draws his soul out and takes his sort of life force. And then they put it into Shao Kahn to make him immortal.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, great. Okay, Shang Tsung is going to replace that amulet. That amulet was fake, and he's actually taken the power of Raiden for himself. And we'll get some big fight where we think Shao Kahn's invincible, but then he gets killed. And then the Earth Realm wins, but the true villain at the end is revealed to be Shang Tsung, and he has to fight Raiden or something like that. Would have been so much more interesting and more in line with the games.
Oh, yeah.
But they do a thing where they give Shao Kahn invincibility, and in his first fight he fights fucking stupid Cole Young, and Cole Young beats his ass. He kills him. And the only reason he survived is because of the amulet. And it's like, well, now you've just lessened the stakes of your most menacing villain.
Oh yeah, that's what you meant with yeah, like okay, Cole dies, but it's not.
He still beats Shao Kahn.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day.
They wanted to give the actor like one last chance to be cool before they kill him off because no one cares.
They didn't give a fuck. They didn't give a fuck about him. Why give him anything? And the same with
That's fair.
Jax. Like Jax was such a nothing character in this. There's like stereotypes of like bad films having like black side characters who just in like college films they would be like, oh my god damn, like
Yeah.
shit. They would just say silly stereotypical things. He is literally the stereotype of that character, and it's so bad how the way they do it. It clearly shows they never had a plan. Clearly, the way the story changes direction in this second movie, there was never a plan, or the plan changed because of how bad the first film was. And it's just how can this be so not thought out properly? You know what I mean? Like, how is nobody trying to plan these ahead, and they're all just flying on the edge of the seat of their pants? Like,
To be honest, it didn't need much more than what they had to become a decent, well done movie. Like you were saying before, like I don't know what I am expecting this kind of film to be. It needs to be this, but better.
yeah. The framework's there.
If they focused on Johnny Cage and gave him like a proper, interesting arc, and then he's the point of view character that leads into this world, and we get to meet Katana, and we learn about her struggle and what's happening and what is at stake for Earth. It's just everything is so vague and undefined and unclear in terms of lore and world building. It's just, a bunch of terms that if you don't have like deep knowledge of the games will mean nothing to you. And the film doesn't do anything to give them meaning. Like the movie starts with a scene that I thought was pretty decent. You have a cute scene between a young Katana and her dad, who's the king, and the king has to go out and fight, and he dies, and it's very powerful, and you're like, okay. And then the title card comes in, and you're like, oh my god, so this is gonna be Katana's story of revenge. And it sets up something that could and should work, but then she starts doing the fucking fantasy monologue and establishing all these things that we don't really need explained right now. Just fucking go straight to Raiden, make him do some stuff, and then we can go to Johnny Cage, and then Johnny Cage can be the one asking questions and getting answers later when we're already invested in what's going on.
But I suppose the problem is they did that in the first film with Cole Young and Sonya. She did the whole explanation of the tournament and all the exposition, but they feel like they have to tread that ground again in the opening of this one. It's
because no one's gonna rewatch Mortal Kombat in preparation
No.
for Mortal Kombat 2.
Exactly.
Hiroyuki Sanada did like half a day of shooting in a nice garden, and then a stunt double did all the fighting in on a green screen place with flames and stuff.
My God, that place looked ugly as fuck. As well.
Yeah,
That place was only the second worst set because the place where Sonya and Sindel have their fight was like in a broom cupboard.
there's like 5 sets in this movie.
But they have like they fight in that like it's like a pit with spinning spikes, which is in the games like that. There's a map that is like
It
that.
does look like a game level.
They have the smallest studio space that they're filming us in, and it was terrible looking, this scene.
Yeah, I forgot about that. But yeah, like, you need to give meaning to stuff in your movie that it's not just referencing stuff that people like from the games. Like when Jade, you realize that her spear is like luminous. And that's probably something that has, a lot of, well, maybe not a lot of, but like some meaning in the games.
Less than you would think, Tommy.
Okay. But you can, in a movie, if you want to use that, like you can just have a few lines of dialogue that explain that, like the true power of this spear does not manifest itself for everyone or for every situation. And like she finally unlocks it and you can see her as a true video game character. And it makes sense for the film to show you that because it's like, oh, I want to be on Katana's side. I'm going to be a good guy now. And that's why my spear is now responding to me in this way. And I'm one with my weapon or whatever. And that could be compelling, but like they don't give any meaning to that and you don't care and you forget about it. And then it doesn't have anything to do with anything. And, maybe someone who has Jade as their main is really happy to see that, cool shot of her spinning the thing. But it doesn't mean anything, so I don't care.
Yeah, I don't know. Even those guys that might not win them over. I don't know. It's there's a lot of missed opportunities in this, and I think, like you said, there are small tweaks you could make, and that could turn this into a much more palatable story.
Yeah, it would be like a classic, just a regular like action movie with like some fun characters, interactions. It doesn't need to be anything more than that. But they don't even do the bare minimum. Even with a character like Johnny Cage, they do less than the bare minimum. And it's just so obvious. And there's not one single surprise in the film, story-wise, other than, this character shows up and I don't know who that is, so I don't care.
Yeah, so exactly like you said, very little surprises in this one, which is a shame, especially when you're dealing with like franchise things where you can sneak in little Easter eggs. And there are some of those in there, but not as many as they could have done to not just a complete fan service member berries degree, but like just in moments like in some of the fights, just have when one character fucks up another, to have them say flawless victory or like fatality or
get over
bring
here.
in some more of. Yeah, they do. They obviously do that one because you have to do that one. It's not a Mortal Kombat film unless you say that.
Yeah.
So they could have introduced that stuff more. And then, like I said, when we were walking out the cinema, they're thumping that great epic theme song of Mortal Kombat, which they did in the first film, and they only play it again at the end credits. And why are they not incorporating this into the movie? It would give such a pop to the audience. In one of the big fights, you hear that theme start coming in. It's so weird how where and when they decide to and decide not to lean into those things from the game.
I think like they do things, but they do them halfway. Like they don't go all the way with stuff. Like even when they do the classic, like, maybe there's a fight is about to start and they have the camera pan out and the characters are like on the two sides of the screen and it looks like the classic fighting game setup.
That was cool.
But even then, like sometimes they're not, like it feels like the shot is slightly wrong.
Yeah.
It's not framed as perfectly as it could have been. And it's annoying because they're like, oh, you missed an opportunity there for like a very clean shot that would look exactly like the game.
But now we've had two of these sort of big, more modern feature films from Mortal Kombat, and they're still nowhere near on the level as just watching those campaigns, cutscenes cut together. Like Mortal Kombat 10 and 11, I believe it is. They're still probably the best sort of Mortal Kombat stories done. I would watch those over again than rather watching these two films, to be honest.
Yeah, I should do that. I should just experience that instead.
They're so much better, Tommy. The characters are so good.
I believe you. Can't wait to see what Jade's deal is in the games.
But yes, and they set us up for a third one, which is like it's a weird setup as well.
Yeah, explain something to me.
Yeah, go on.
Liu Kang at some point. What the fuck happened with
He
him?
died.
Yeah, no, but he becomes like engulfed in flames, and he says something about his destiny is not to die there, but to do something else in the future, and then he disappears.
His destiny is to bring back Kung Lao from the dead, is what he says in that
Yeah.
moment. But it's, if you know, this is something they've done really recently, probably in the last like 2 or 3 games. Raiden's like, basically he wants to give up his mantle of being the elder god, and Liu Kang doesn't know it, but Liu Kang's being trained and sort of groomed to take his position. And Liu Kang in like the last couple games is one of the elder gods, and he's like the god of fire, basically.
Yeah.
And that's probably what they're going to do here. He dies, but he comes back as an elder god, and he's going to come back and, you know, resurrect Kung Lao or whatever. Yeah, like they're banking on getting a 3rd movie, and I don't know whether that's guaranteed here, to be honest.
I mean, based on the attendance at my screening on the first day of release of this video game movie, I doubt that will happen. But honestly, I would still be curious to watch it because it's always kind of fun, and I really want them to be really fun, if you know what I mean. Like, and I really hope that the Street Fighter movie is that, because I think Street Fighter, and I'm more familiar with those characters, and I think you can do so much with it. If they do it right, it could be so much fun. And it doesn't need to be Citizen Kane or Citizen Cage.
No, but it helps. It helps. It helps if it has a cohesive storyline, as we know with any of these kind of things. And if that last trailer is to go on, then I think Street Fighter is going to be the winner between these two for quality, for sure. And yeah, I will. If the 3rd one does come to fruition, I will watch it because I love the franchise, and I'm clinging on to that hope that just one of these movies is going to be the Mortal Kombat film that I want, but maybe that doesn't exist.
Yeah, it might not happen for a very long time, but never lose hope.
It's showtime. Get over here! Johnny will definitely die.